Welcome, Simon Bogdanovich, strategy advisor and foundation architect at CUDO Ventures, joining us here. Thank you, Simon, for being here. How are you?
Doing well. How are you, Michael?
Doing great. It's a pleasure to have you here. Tell us a little bit about the company and what it does.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the CUDOS Foundation is actually a part of CUDO Ventures. And as a part of CUDO Ventures, we are obviously that foundation arm with our mission of really being to develop, fund, and grow the CUDOS ecosystem through both our own hub of resources as well as the resources that we have provided for us through CUDO Ventures. So when you think of it, the foundation is really seen as both a gateway as well as destination for developers, for really CUDOS and community evangelists, and for projects to get funded through our grant program. But the foundation always stays grounded in the same principles that CUDO Ventures does, which is really centered around sustainability, inclusivity, and impact.
Fantastic. Okay, talk a little bit about your target market. Who are you guys trying to get in front of here?
Yeah, so in terms of target market, we are looking to really get in front of a few different types of people. One avenue we're really looking to get in front of is developers, right? And it's like current Rust developers or developers that want to build on Rust and they see the value that a blockchain that's built in the Cosmos ecosystem, what the value is there and why to be on it. So I think it's best probably to talk about the target market in terms of our three core areas of the hub. Three core areas of the hub, are like funding, resources, and community initiatives. So on the funding side, we actually have a grant program that gives grants of between $5,000 and upwards to $250,000 to $300,000 US dollars worth of CUDOS to projects, developers, and community leaders that will help advance and scale the CUDOS blockchain, as well as potentially projects to help scale or instead our distributed compute platform that is to be launched. The second core pillar of the foundation really is resources. So the target market there, again, it's heavily developers. In terms of funding, it can be a whole slew of different target audiences. Resources is really supplying the resources for builders to encourage the creation of dApps and NFTs and everything else in the CUDOS ecosystem. So we obviously CUDOS has a developer portal and everyone has technical documentation, but we want to make sure we get like the educational resources out there to make sure everyone understands, whether you're like a novice, intermediate, or advanced Rust developer, everyone understands like how you can develop on CUDOS, what's the value of it, how we're different than other layer ones, and how to get involved. Beyond that, so resources, there's technical resources, and as well as other resources around community, which is really our third major pillar around community initiatives and community programs. And so with that, we have a number of hackathons that we sponsor, that we participate in. We have rolled out in the past, so we're going to roll out a new Bug Bounty program. We have ambassador program for early stage devs to get involved, and ambassadors are also compensated on a monthly basis. There's a few different categories of ambassadors that we have for CUDOS and CUDOS Rangers. And then it's also important to understand, hey, where's the CUDOS team going to be any given month? At what events are we going to be at? What are we going to host? What are we going to sponsor? What are we going to speak at? In the physical world or virtual world, right? Twitter Spaces. We have Coffee with CUDOS on a weekly basis right now, and many more. So it's really around the community programs and how to get involved in that in that way is really important.
Fantastic. And then the potential market size. Talk about how big you think this opportunity can be.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a very super loaded question, right? In terms of how big the opportunity can be. It can be massive, right? In terms of a foundation size. So other pretty well-known foundations are quite big. Obviously, unless you're working at one of those other foundations for other layer one blockchains, you're not really going to know the size of their endowment. But I can tell you just based on current price levels of, let's say, Algorand, Near, Filecoin, and Solana, their endowments alone, that they have that publicly that we know of, range between sizes of $110 million, denominated in USD or USDC and whatnot, all the way up to $1.8 billion like Solana. So in terms of the foundation size and what it can grow to and what we can become is quite big. Obviously, a lot of that depends on how involved our community is, how active our network is, how often we're producing, and developers that are, building on CUDOS are producing, delivering product, and how that's attracting more transactions to the network, investors, stakers, node operators, so on and so forth. So my goal is, and I think the goal of the entire foundation team is to, grow everything as quickly as possible.
Excellent. Okay, your competitors and what you're doing differently in the space. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. So because we're quite unique as a layer 1 blockchain at Cosmos and then a layer 2 distributed compute program, like it's hard for me to say like what like our like true competitors are, because we're doing things like much differently. But in terms of what we're doing differently is really, I think, that distributed cloud compute layer, which is different from everyone that I've seen, because we've built up over the last few years, even before the mainnet launch happened a few months ago, both the supply side and the demand side of CUDOS. So I think that's what's really unique, is that we have that supply side. So everyone from, like, let's say in academia, you need, or let's say working with NASA or someone else in space exploration and whatnot, SpaceX, whatnot, they want to have some renderings of new satellite imagery of Jupiter or Saturn or somewhere, right? But they'd like to do that at like a fraction of the cost of what it costs now, and also do that in a decentralized distributed way where it's a fraction of the cost. There's actually, it can be sped up while still maintaining the security standards of having a centralized system. So hence CUDOS can come in and play a role in that. So I think that's quite a big differentiator than anyone else.
Wonderful. And then a final quick point from you, Simon. Key takeaway that investors should know about the company and be looking for over the next 12 months. Anything in particular you should point to that we should be watching for?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's very important to realize that we're stepping into a time where obviously metaverses and everything that's surrounding metaverses, there's a tremendous amount of computing power that's needed for that, and so I think it really is a critical time to scale CUDOS and scale into those opportunities. Imagining the opportunity to participate in, let's say, Bitcoin mining, but doing it in a way that's decentralized, and owning NFT where your NFT is representative to a revenue stream from a particular miner, and that way you can actually start fractionalizing Bitcoin mining and things like that. So that is all possible through CUDOS, and those are a little glimpse into some of the things that we are looking at and are working on.
Amazing. Simon, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a great look into everything you're working on and the exciting future in front of you guys too. Strategy advisor and foundation architect with CUDO. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.